Yeah, I had a tomato here that died, so I'm gonna plant another plant. I just wanted to quickly. I know there's a lot of videos out there on planting tomatoes, but I just want to do a little quick video on how I plant mines and get them off to a good start. And let me get started. Let me dig my hole, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so you got your hole dug with a. I got this uh, salad plant. You can, get, of course, getting your tomatoes in the trays. Um, the ones in the trays actually are pretty good. They take off pretty fast. Yeah, sometimes they'll catch up with these big varieties. A lot of times at the box stores, the big varieties are only the ones that are specialty type plants. This right here is a purple Cherokee, which is an heirloom variety or an original variety. They can be kind of difficult to grow. They take a lot of time and care for them to really, put out some nice tomatoes like they're described. But we're gonna do this one here. But with a tomato plant, it's a little different. With most other plants, the deeper you can plant it, the better. Especially one like this, it has a long stalk. You want to get a little bit, at least an inch below that, the base of that plant, because it'll start developing roots along that stalk. You can see here, it looks like it's already starting to develop roots. And it'll just get it off to a little bit better start, and you won't have to worry about it so much with it blowing over and breaking, because these things are real fragile when you first plant them, which is why I like the ones in the trays, the little small ones in the trays. They usually start off a little easier and better and don't take as much care, where these big ones you have to really be careful, because when the wind blows, if you have a windy, rainy day, you'd be surprised it'll come out and break that plant. But anyway, I'm going to probably get a little deeper than that. A little bit of dirt out. Put it down in there. Pack the dirt around it pretty tight. And what I do is I like to develop a swale around my plants. As you can see, I've developed that, and I'll continue to keep that up until the plant gets big and I start putting the cages on them. Because of course, once you put the cages on them, you can't really hoe around them anymore. But once the plants get established and big, it won't allow a lot of weeds to grow. You can kind of reach your hand and then pull through the cages and pull the little weeds out. But anyway, I will come back one more time and just show you how I do the dirt, re-stir the dirt up around it and maybe give it a little bit of fertilizer treatment. And that'll be it. I had two other ones that I just planted here. These are some great tomatoes, so they usually do pretty good and pretty easy to grow. I actually had two growing in the pot together, so I separated those two. I do have a video out there too about free vegetable plants, how to separate the plants you see growing in the trays that have two growing together. That's actually a pretty good technique. So if you can check that video out, I think that'll be great and to help you out. When you do a cage, to cage your tomatoes, this is probably the ideal size. This one right here is probably about 1.5 feet wide. It's not that tall. I would like for it to be a little taller, about 1 foot taller, maybe as tall as this one. But width-wise, it's perfect because you don't have to do anything but come out each day. And if you're an avid gardener, you probably come out and check your garden at least every other day. If you like the type person that like to watch it grow. So when you come out, I always, every 2-3 days, I just make sure everything is pulled inside of the cage. So to keep it growing inside that cage. Sometimes they'll get out of the way from you, and you can just stake that up separate if you want. If you want to keep it pulled in, every few days, because they'll grow real fast, especially if they get a lot of rain, a lot of moisture, a lot of water. Make sure all these are tucked in. This cage right here is, to me, a little too wide. It's probably about 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet wide. So these are fine, but they require more maintenance. They may require you to come out and the twist ties, the garden twist ties, and twist them to the outside of the cage. Because what happens is when your fruit grows, it'll sometimes the plant will sag with the fruit. So if you have one that's kind of tight like this one, about 1.5 feet wide, or like this one, You know, it's the perfect width to keep because it has enough width for it to grow out, but it, you know, not enough for the when the fruit forms for the plant to sag. So this one is doing pretty good too. It's probably about a little over a foot wide. But the key to it is just keeping them tucked in. Another key to your growing good tomato plants is keeping the pest off of them, the worms and bugs. So if you use just a basic garden spray from your home center that kills just for vegetables or for tomato plants, it's fine. And the liquid spray, what I do is I focus the liquid on the fruit itself and at the bottom of the ground. And after I do that, then I dust them with Sevin dust or some kind of garden dust is the best thing to do. Or just focus on the fruit, keep bugs and worms off of that, and I just kind of spray the ground. Just a real quick spray the fruit, focus on the ground. Just a real quick pass, you don't need to do too much. And you'll need to do this just, you know, every 3 or 4 days unless you get a rain. You know, every time it rains, you need to come back and spray them again. The Sevin dust, though, a lot of times a Sevin dust will hold up to a light rain. That's a good thing about it as well. As long as you see the residue of that dust on there, then you're fine. And here, that's how it looks with the little dust, Sevin dust on it. It's like I said, a light coating of dust. And that will protect it from pests and will also keep the leaves cool. Sometimes in the heat of the summer, the dust also helps keep the leaves cool and protect them from the heat of the sun. The two varieties I enjoy growing the most are the Better Boy. It's very easy variety to grow. And also the Park Swapper is another good variety. I want to give a quick update on the tomato plants that I planted. This is that first one, the Purple Cherokee. It's about 4 or 5 weeks later, so it's been a little while. And I didn't film me hoeing around it and fertilizing it. I didn't think you really needed to see that. But basically, I just kept the plant chopped up around the base of the plant, kept the weeds from growing around it. And I redid my swale, and then I did one triple 13 treatment. I just side dressed it with about a handful of triple 13. That's it, not too much. And it's done pretty good. The only thing I don't like is it didn't bush out at the bottom. I like for my tomato plants to bush out, kind of like these have done. That's the only thing I don't like. What I should have done is planted the plant a lot deeper. I should have planted about 5 or 6 inches below the pot line, and it would have formed roots along that base and probably bushed out a lot better. That's the only downside of buying a plant that's real mature. So if you see plants in the box store that you want that's growing in single cup, get the one that's the least mature. If you do buy the one that's real mature and has a long stalk, plant it deep, because you'll have a little bit better result at bushing out. And I think the ones that bush out, to me, do better. That's just the way I like to grow my plants. Got a lot of production out of these this year. And then put up plenty of tomatoes, fried plenty of them, giving a lot away. Here's the other 2 plants. They're doing pretty good. They're the grape tomato. So they're doing okay. They hadn't really formed a real thick stalk like I like, but they were from a mature plant too. I will note that you'll see the little roots forming along the base of there. If you see that happening, you can cut that off and start another plant. That's exactly what I did with this one. This is another grape tomato. And I basically started this one off of a piece of another plant. So you can do that and they'll do fine. But I had a great productive year this year with tomatoes. But there is nothing better than a vine ripe tomato, kind of like this one. If you let them get vine ripe, there's nothing better than to cut that in half and put some salt and pepper on it. It's the best taste you ever have in your life. And there's no way you can get that from a farmer's market or a grocery store, because they don't have the luxury of letting those things get vine ripe. So you do have that luxury when you grow them yourself. So grow some tomatoes, and I hope you do well. And thank you for watching.